They laughed at the couple, treating them like they didn't belong. But when the woman spoke 5 words, "I own this resort," the entire room went silent. Marcus and Aaliyah pulled up to the grand resort in their sleek black car, both of them dressed elegantly, but casually enough to blend in with the other guests. The entrance sparkled with golden lights, marble pillars, and neatly dressed bellboys carrying expensive luggage for tourists who looked as if they belonged. Marcus stepped out first, helping his wife with a warm smile, but the moment they walked through the tall glass doors of the lobby, the atmosphere shifted. The sound of laughter and polite chatter seemed to falter as eyes turned their way. A receptionist at the front desk raised her eyebrows, whispering something to her colleague while giving the couple a long, judgmental stare. Marcus, still patient, walked forward confidently and said, "Good evening, we have a reservation under Carter." Instead of typing his name, the receptionist tilted her head and replied with an exaggerated politeness, "Are you sure this is the right resort? Rooms here start at $1,500 a night." A couple standing nearby chuckled openly, glancing at Aaliyah's modest yet stylish outfit as though it was out of place. Aaliyah gripped her purse a little tighter, her smile fading but her composure unshaken. Marcus cleared his throat, his pride stung, but before he could respond, the second receptionist leaned closer and said with a smirk, "Maybe you'd be more comfortable checking somewhere, more affordable." The mocking laughter from the lobby grew louder, filling the space with humiliation. Still, Aaliyah said nothing. She simply looked around calmly, her eyes sharp, her presence commanding. She knew something everyone else didn't, that she didn't need their approval, their validation, or their fake hospitality. The very roof under which they mocked her was hers. And when the truth came out, the laughter would stop instantly. Marcus clenched his jaw as he felt the weight of the stairs and the cruel whispers bouncing around the grand lobby. He wanted to defend his wife right then, to silence the smug faces of the staff and the guests who found their discomfort entertaining. But Aaliyah gently touched his arm, signaling him to wait. With steady grace, she stepped forward, her heels clicking against the polished marble floor, commanding attention in a way that no title or introduction could. "Yes," she said calmly, her voice smooth but unyielding. "We're quite sure this is the right place. Now, would you please check the reservation?" Her poise unsettled the receptionist, who awkwardly began typing into the computer, though the condescending smirk didn't fully leave her face. As the seconds stretched, another guest, a wealthy-looking man in a designer suit, stepped closer and sneered. "Unbelievable. They'll let anyone in here these days. Standards must be slipping." Aaliyah turned her head slowly, meeting his eyes with such intensity that he shifted uncomfortably under her gaze. "Some standards," she replied softly, "are more about character than clothing." The words silenced him instantly, but the others continued to whisper and chuckle behind her back. Marcus, though proud of his wife's strength, still burned with anger at their arrogance. Just then, the receptionist cleared her throat, saying in a falsely sweet tone, "I don't seem to find your booking. Perhaps there's been a mistake." She smirked again, as if expecting them to shrink away in shame. Instead, Aaliyah leaned closer, her tone steady and deliberate. "There is no mistake. I know this resort better than anyone standing here. In fact, I know it from the inside out." The staff exchanged confused glances, unable to grasp the deeper meaning behind her words. Aaliyah simply smiled, her patience wearing thin, but her confidence unshaken. The lobby grew eerily quiet after Aaliyah's confident words, though a few chuckles still rippled through the air as some assumed she was bluffing. Marcus crossed his arms, his eyes sharp with silent fury, while the receptionist leaned back with a smug grin, certain she held the upper hand. "Well," the receptionist said mockingly, "if you know this place inside out, maybe you can tell us who actually runs it." She glanced at her colleagues, who stifled laughter behind their hands. But before Aaliyah could respond, a tall man in a tailored gray suit walked briskly into the lobby. His presence shifted the atmosphere immediately. This was Richard Grant, the resort's general manager, respected and feared for his sharp eye and strict professionalism. "What's going on here?" he demanded, his voice echoing across the marble floor. The staff quickly straightened, suddenly nervous. The receptionist stammered, "Oh, sir, we were just handling a situation. These two guests are insisting they belong here, but I couldn't find their reservation." Richard's eyes flicked to Marcus and then settled on Aaliyah, and in that instant, his face changed from confusion to recognition. His posture stiffened, and his usual composure faltered. "Mrs. Carter," he said, his tone almost reverent, I wasn't expecting you until tomorrow." Gasps echoed from the crowd of guests, and the receptionist's face drained of color. Aaliyah tilted her head slightly, her calm gaze never leaving the woman who had mocked her. "It seems there's been a lot of confusion tonight," she said smoothly, her voice carrying a weight that silenced every whisper. Richard quickly moved to her side, bowing his head respectfully. "Everyone, this is Aaliyah Carter," he announced. "She isn't just a guest. She is the owner of this resort." The room froze, disbelief etched across every face as the truth shattered the arrogance that had filled the air moments before. The silence in the lobby was thick, broken only by the faint hum of the chandelier lights above. Guests who had been whispering moments earlier now stared wide-eyed, some exchanging guilty glances as they realized the couple they had silently judged were, in fact, the rightful owners of the paradise they had come to enjoy. The receptionist who had mocked Aaliyah stood frozen, her lips trembling as her earlier confidence dissolved into shame. She tried to speak, but no words came out. Marcus tightened his grip on Aaliyah's hand, his expression unreadable, while Aaliyah herself remained calm, her elegance only amplified by the gravity of the moment. "I believe you owe my husband and me an apology," she said softly, though her voice carried an authority that made the entire room lean in. The receptionist finally stammered, I didn't know. I thought." But Aaliyah raised a hand gently, stopping her mid-sentence. "No, you didn't think. You assumed. And assumptions like yours are why nights like this happen to people who don't deserve it." A hush fell over the crowd, a few guests nodding as the truth cut deep. Richard, the manager, immediately turned to the staff. "This behavior is unacceptable," he said firmly, his tone like steel. "Every guest is to be treated with respect, no matter what you think you see." The receptionist lowered her eyes, tears welling, realizing that her arrogance had not only humiliated her, but also jeopardized her career. Aaliyah looked around the lobby, meeting the eyes of strangers who now avoided her gaze, ashamed of their silence. "Respect isn't optional," she continued. "It's the foundation of hospitality, and this resort will always stand on that foundation." Her words, calm yet commanding, lingered in the air, leaving no one untouched. The next morning, the resort buzzed with murmurs of the previous night's revelation, but Aaliyah and Marcus carried themselves with quiet dignity as they walked through the grand dining hall. Guests who had stared at them with judgment the day before now approached with hesitant smiles, some offering apologies, others simply lowering their heads in embarrassment. Aaliyah graciously accepted their words, but made it clear that the incident was not just about her. It was about the larger truth of respect and equality. At breakfast, she called a brief meeting with the entire staff, her presence commanding yet warm. "This resort," she began, her voice firm but steady, "was built to be a sanctuary, a place where every person who walks through those doors feels valued, no matter their background, no matter their appearance. What happened last night cannot and will not happen again." Her words carried a weight that left no room for excuses. The receptionist, eyes swollen from a sleepless night, stepped forward with trembling hands clasped. "Mrs. Johnson, I'm so sorry. I was wrong." Aaliyah studied her for a moment, then replied, "Acknowledging your mistake is the first step. Learning from it will define who you become." She didn't fire her on the spot, instead assigning her to a strict retraining program, a chance at redemption rather than simple punishment. The staff clapped lightly, and even Marcus's stern expression softened into pride. Later, as Aaliyah walked out to the terrace, the sun bathed the resort in golden light, glistening off the ocean waves. She breathed deeply, knowing the resort was not just hers by ownership. It was hers by vision, built to prove that dignity, grace, and respect always triumph over prejudice. Marcus leaned in, whispering, "You turned humiliation into power." Aaliyah smiled softly. "No," she corrected. "I turned it into change." If this story inspired you, don't forget to hit like, drop your thoughts in the comments, and share with others. Subscribe to Black Stories for more powerful and eye-opening stories every week.